Next, we'll talk about some great strategies you can use to support your students that have special needs. The first strategy is giving instructions and information in short and concise terms. Even as adults, getting too much information all at once can be overwhelming, and we're probably going to miss some important points. Well, kids are the same, and anyone who may be dealing with auditory processing difficulties, meaning it could be challenging to process and understand information that they're hearing, it would mean that giving information verbally can be a challenge. So, one great way to make your instructions and content short and concise is think about really specifically what is the necessary information you want to share, and stick with that. For example, you might want to include what exactly is expected for the assignment, how much time do they have to complete it, should they be doing this silently or with a partner, and any other important pieces that they need to be successful and understand what to do. You might also ask a student to repeat those instructions back to you to make sure they really understood what you said. A great example for giving short and concise instructions might sound like, for the next 10 minutes, you're going to work on page 1 and 2. Make sure you're working only with the partner next to you. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. You will have 10 minutes to complete your assignment. A non-example could sound like, okay, so you're gonna be working on these problems on this paper, probably to the end. You can work with your partner or by yourself, it doesn't matter, it's fine. I don't think there's any other information. Oh, maybe if you finish early, you can go on to the next page, but you definitely need to complete only the first page for your teacher. Even I was confused with that one. Too much babbling, too much information, you've probably lost those students that have difficulty with auditory processing. So keep things short, concise, only the important bits. And you might pause in between and say, Denise, can you share back to me what it is we're doing right now? And see if there's anything they missed. Gives you an opportunity to reiterate one more time the important pieces again. Another great strategy might actually sound familiar to you from one of our last sessions. It's positive reinforcement. A little love goes a long way, especially for students who consistently have challenges in school and with learning. Pointing out the great things they're doing and the effort and energy they're putting into trying can really boost up their confidence, keep them more engaged, and build relationships with them. So focus on what students are doing right. Try to catch them doing the right thing and praise, praise, praise. You can use public or private praise, meaning giving them a shout out in front of their friends and the rest of the class, or getting one-on-one next to their desk and just letting them know you see them doing a great job and you know that they can continue doing that throughout the lesson. Using public or private praise, both work well. Publicly, you might give them a shout out. Hey, I see you're doing a great job getting started on your paper. Way to go, John. Or something private. Maybe you just go up to their desk and give them a big thumbs up and say, hey, I noticed that you're trying really hard to get through number 1. I can't wait to see you try number 2 next. For students that struggle with staying focused and getting the work correct, giving that positive reinforcement and praise can go a long way. So instead of focusing on something they didn't do well earlier, like, if only if you had gotten started with this earlier, maybe you'd have time to finish now, and now you won't. It's like, that's a bummer. What if instead you said, hey, nice job taking a good try at number 1. Do you need any help with number 2? I'm sure if we work together on this, we can get through a few more before class is over. The next strategy is pairing verbal information with visual cues. It's really helpful when you are in class and sharing instructions or directions that you can pair whatever you're saying verbally with something visual for students to see as well. Visual cues can help students who learn better visually, being able to see something, see it as an image, or even text, so that not only those who learn best by listening, but also those by seeing can see and get at all the information you're trying to share. You don't leave anyone out. It can be as simple as when you're talking about an assignment and you're going over the instructions of what they need to do, holding up the assignment high enough for all of your students to see, and as you're giving the directions, pointing to the different sections that you're talking about. So that could be like, everyone is going to use this handout that I just gave for our book report. We're going to put our name at the top, include favorites about your book here, and then any descriptive words down here at the bottom. Pretty easy, right? The next strategy is chunking tasks. So remember how we talked earlier about concise and clear instructions and directions, keeping things bite-sized? Chunking tasks is just that, keeping information bite-sized so that students have a chance to really absorb what you're saying. Chunking can look like breaking up a longer task into smaller tasks that lead up to the whole, or it might mean just breaking up a task into chunks of time. So something that might typically take a student 20 minutes to complete, maybe you're assigning it in 5-minute chunks. It just feels a bit more manageable to a student who maybe struggles with attention and staying focused for long periods of time. Setting smaller tasks in front of students can also help them build resiliency, keep them focused and not get discouraged by how long it might be taking them or if they're getting frustrated with an assignment. There's opportunities to take breaks in between and for you to check in and make sure that they understand what they're doing. Before you do chunk out an assignment for a student, consider their age, consider what abilities they have in terms of completing different amounts or sections of the assignment, and then set really clear chunks with them. Let them know if it's going to be every 10 minutes you're going to come back and check in and see what they've gotten done, or if you wanted them to complete a specific portion of the assignment. For example, with a math worksheet, maybe you say, I want you to do as much as you can for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes only, see what you can do. Or if the worksheet has 20 questions, maybe you say, how about you try to do 5? Just 5 questions and I'll come back and check them when you're done. Don't worry about the others just yet, only focus on the first 5. That feels a bit more manageable for a student rather than looking at a whole list of 20 math assignments. Our last strategy for you should sound very familiar by now, as we talk about it often in the last modules within ScootCamp as well. It's de-escalation strategies. Students who are struggling and maybe have challenges in school and with learning can often get frustrated, understandably so. When I'm going through a challenge and I face an obstacle, it can be easy to get upset and annoyed and frustrated, and kids are no different. So it's important when you are working with students who are running into challenges and find something difficult in the lesson or in the activity that you don't take it personally. You stay calm, you keep your voice even and calm. Remember, part of de-escalating is modeling for the student that calm behavior, because if you start rising up, the student will match you. You want to make sure to avoid power struggles and use a really neutral, even tone. Don't forget that if you are substituting in a special education class, you often will have a paraprofessional there to support. So it's okay to call on them to help support if a situation is starting to escalate. As always, know who and how to call for support if needed.